even though the sun's out. Well, the sun's out and I think it's 37. Okay, so we need an inside and an outside fabric. And let's see, where's my hand? Right there. So I'm going to move the camera back a tad more if I can. All right. So here's the bag we're making, just a little simple bag, zipper, lining, everything's nice and neat. You're going to learn about a French seam today. I don't know why I picked dark fabrics. So a French seam has, the seam is there, but it's all finished. So everything's nice and neat. Hi Cindy, you're just watching today? That's okay, we'll let you do that. Now this bag doesn't have any batting or anything. That's a whole different bag. And I think what we'll do is, I think for the month of November, I'm gonna call it bag month. I'm sure it's not, but we're gonna make it bag month. We're gonna do just some different little bags. So this bag you could make any size. And the general rule is that because this is one piece of fabric and this is one piece of fabric. There's no seam down here and there's no seam up here. So the general rule is you want to cut it twice as long as you do your width. But it really depends on what you're going to do with the bag. You know, what you're going to use it for. So, but that's the general rule. We're doing a French seam, so we need a good half inch on each side, because a French seam is a quarter seam and then a quarter seam. So on each side. So if you want to make a little note of it, and I know I've got so many patterns to type up for you guys that the list gets longer, not shorter. So you just want to make note when you make a French seam, because you're actually seaming twice. You're doing a quarter inch seam and then another quarter inch seam. So that's a half inch on each side. If you're a little nervous when you do your French seam, then I would cut it maybe, let's see. I'd say, what would we say, half inch? So you can go 3/4 on each side. And that will give you a little extra room. But generally when you're doing a bag, you're not doing like an exact that something has to fit perfectly in it. So a little bigger is always okay. So if you want to go an inch bigger on each side for your seam allowance and you have plenty, that's fine too. After you make a couple, you'll get the hang of it, and you'll be a little more precise with your seam. So we got to have a zipper. And I buy these zippers, I think they're, see, I always thought they were 18, but they're 15. So this is like a 15-inch zipper. This actually comes from a quilting store. They carry this most of them carry this particular type of zipper, and they tend to be the best price around, and they have like a million colors to pick from. So I always keep a handful of different colors around. It has to be a nylon zipper, not a metal zipper, because we're going to sew right over the zipper. And when you're doing something smaller, you really want a bigger zipper so that all this hardware and the metal that's here stay out of your way, out of your sewing way for as long as possible. Hi, Rhonda. And hi, Nancy. So like I said, as a rule, I'll keep a half a dozen colors at least. I'm running low, so I can see already my colors aren't going to match very well, are they? Maybe I should do a pink one. Oh, I've got a purple one. I think I've got a purple one. Hold on, I'm going to get a purple zipper. I've changed my fabric 3 times while I was sitting here waiting. So I'm going to go purple. Because see, I've got a pink one and a purple one. So I always have like a couple of whites. Once in a while, I keep one black. I don't use black that often. Red, whatever colors you like. And everything doesn't have to be matching, but I think my purple and green go together okay. I want to move the bag so I don't cut that off. So I'm going to set my zipper right here. Make sure everybody gets your zipper foot out. Looks like that. So we'll have our little zipper foot lesson. So do you see on the back? Look at yours, probably better than looking at mine. I'm trying to do it so it doesn't shine. There's a little tunnel right there. See that little tunnel? And yours may be bigger, it may be wider than this. That tunnel is made to run over the zipper. So let me see if I can hold it sideways. And you see how we're looking right here. See that little tunnel, and just take your zipper foot and put it on your zipper, and you can see if I run this right down this tunnel, it stays right there in that spot. And now you're wondering, okay, excuse me, what kind of zipper foot, what kind of foot is this? It's got the bar, it's got 2 bars instead of 1 bar. Well, if I'm stitching along and I need to be on the left side of the zipper, I'm going to put my foot on to the right, this right one, because all you have to do is think about where the zipper teeth are, and then which you want your the toe of your foot is obviously going to be to the left of the zipper, because we generally have all our fabric to the left, and come down. If for some reason I needed to be on this side, which we will probably, then I'm going to change the foot over and go into the bar on the other side. So most all zipper feet have that double bar. Some of you may have, if you have an older machine, you have an adjustable zipper foot, and it has a little bar and a little, generally it's an orange knob, and the foot is just straight like this part is, doesn't have this part sticking out. And then the adjuster will let you go slide it back and forth to whichever side of the needle you need to be on. So, but I believe I'm using this one today because this is the type that comes with every machine. Okay, so make sure you have your zipper foot. I'm using a Microtex 70 needle. The reason I didn't cut this ahead, besides I wanted to make sure that everybody got to cut along if they weren't cut ahead. I gotta move some of this out of the way here. Now I got more zippers than I need. And let's see, we'll put the bag, can be right there. Oh, no, I can't hide my scissors. We're gonna need those. Okay. So in this case, I have a one-way fabric, a directional fabric. So this bag is made so the fabric comes up and around like this. Okay, so I don't care so much about that because it's not going to be that big of an area. But if that bothers you to be upside down, then you'd have to cut your fabric. Actually, I have 2 directional fabrics just to make it a little harder. So my lining is tape measures. So, and these are 2 fat quarters, and I know I've told you a ton of times, I generally cut my fat quarters so that I get to keep my length. Well, this time I can't because my direction of my print is going differently than how I would normally cut. So I'm just folding mine over because I don't have a lot of room here. So I'm going to cut both my fabrics at the same time. Oh, Rhonda, you and Nancy are both sewing good. I know a lot of you probably haven't had your zipper foot out in a while or done a zipper. So I'm just folding this over ways because I only have a little room here. But the first thing I want to do, I've got both of my fabrics together, but see, they're not perfectly lined up. I'm going to take care of that now. So I'm right-handed. Honest to God, that bag's going to follow me everywhere. So I am right-handed, so I am going to trim this little edge off. And I'm actually going to fold it down a little further. And I want to make sure that on my mat, I want to be even here, and I want to be even at my fold. So if I know this part and this part are even, I can get this one good. Well, I just folded that enough. So I'm gonna line my ruler line, one of my lines up along this bottom, and then I want to make sure I look along this top to make sure that my lines, horizontal lines, are in line with my fabric. And I just got to move this over. And when you trim, look and see which fabric is in the furthest, because that's the one you got to go by. Okay? So now you notice my ruler is totally on my fabric. So I'm going to make this point when I turn this around. There goes a bobbin. And you're not going to be like in this little caved in area I've got going here. Had I wanted to, let me move this. Had I had this on the left to trim, I would have, unless I'm left-handed, I would have had to take my ruler mostly off of my fabric to do this if I'm right-handed this way. So don't try to cut corners and do it this way, because I have too much, I have very little grip on my fabric, holding my fabric. I have next to nothing showing how my fabric is lining up. So if you're right-handed, you're gonna square up, that's what that's called, straighten up your fabric on the right. If you're left-handed, you do it like this and this way. And then whichever hand you are, you're going to spin it all the way around to actually cut. So hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, let me know in the chat and I'll explain it again. You know, I'm basically lazy myself, so I try to do things the easiest way possible, but I don't want to do it the easiest way at the expense of doing it right. So now I need 9 inches. I need 9 inches across. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. And I know it says 9 down the bottom of my mat, but sometimes you might be in the middle of your mat. And here's a little tip. Count anyways. Count those squares anyways, because I can't tell you how many times my students have come in. See how I'm in one number? Because they put the edge on the one that's at the bottom of your mat. Well, then you've lost an inch. So if I went by the mat to number 9, I'm really at 8 inches because I came in on the 1. So coming in on the 1 is fine, except you need to count over 9. So no matter what my mat says or my ruler says, I still count. Okay, and again, I'm going to make sure that my fold is nice and straight and my bottom's nice and straight. Your bottom might not be perfect if you haven't squared up, but if it's pretty close, we'll worry about that in a minute because we're going to cut some of this off. So I want to be 9 inches wide. And you should only have to run down that once. I like to use my little rotary cutter when I'm in class and stuff. And so sometimes going through, I got 4 layers of fabric here. And plus I'm sitting down because when I stand up, I'll hit the camera. Okay, so we've got our 9 inches across. Now, we're going to turn this way. I'm going to open this up, and I'm still keeping them together. And I want to line up so I'm straight along here and I'm straight along here, and I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to trim. Okay? So you can see my line across there is straight. My line across here is straight. So now, and I have to move away from my machine. And you notice I don't take my hand off the ruler until I know this is cut, because let's see if it'll do it. A lot of times when you lift your hand up, your fingers, the ruler kind of sticks to your fingers. So, and then you're like, oh, now you're in a mess. Okay, so now I need 18. And see, remember I told you, if your end down here isn't perfect, it's fine, because we don't need to go that far down. So it wasn't off much. So I'm just gonna go along this line, and I'm gonna scoot up so you can hopefully can see. So I'm just lining up. So I'm on this line, I'm on this line. Okay? So now I need 16, I think it was. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So I'm going to go ahead and put my ruler on. Going to make sure it's nice and straight. Okay, and then I'll move this up in a second. But I'm going to go back, and I'm going to count one more time. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Now I can move this up so you can see it better. Okay, so my ruler is straight here, and I'm going to be cutting this off. And you're not going to be twisting and turning, well, hopefully you're not, like I am. Okay? Everybody good? Everybody cut? I'll wait just a second to see if I need to explain anything. You're going to need your clips out. Okay? Now, we're going to separate the lining in the front fabric. Now, we're going to trying to think of which way I have to stop and think for a minute which way I did this to know which way I'm going. So we're doing, let's see. Now this is exactly what you'll do when you're all by yourself. So and this is only because I have directional fabric. If I didn't have directional fabric, it wouldn't matter at all. But when I start, see if I can come over this way. Oh, let me back up a little. Oh. There we go. Okay, when I start this, I'm using this part of the zipper up here, the past the teeth. So my front of my zipper, and the front of the zipper is where the pull is going to be to the front of my fabric. So I always just put it on, and then I'm going up. So I'm going to be going up and around. So see how my fabric is upside down. Hopefully you don't have directional fabric. So I turned it over so the direction's heading towards me. So when I put this on and I go up, let me stick one pin in, because I want you to be able to do this when you're by yourself. And this is exactly what I would do. I don't try to guess. You know, you don't get a special prize for guessing. Generally, it doesn't work out well. So I'm just going to stick a couple of pins in, just as if I were going to sew that, because what's going to happen is this is going to come up and around, and then this fabric will be will be coming up to here. Now, I'm going to do this just like I was really making it, because I want you to see what's going to happen. And again, hopefully today, I should have told everybody not directional fabric, but I didn't really think about it at the time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this through. So like I'm turning it right side out. Then you get to audition how your fabric is. And see how I'm right side up now? Okay? So what you can do is, so now you know this is correct. So what you can do is you can leave one of them pinned on and take the other one off. So I'm going to take this pin off, these pins off, because this one is right. And this one has no, the second one, the one I'm unpinning now, has no choice but to go where it is. So now I can undo that. So see, I'm all pinned and ready to go, but at least I took the time to pin this. So Christine, did you need me to pin it again? Okay, so directional fabric. Your direction is going to be facing towards you. You may forget about that. When we make a zipper bag, your zipper is right side up. Don't worry about the lining yet. We'll get to that. Are you all set then, Christine? Well, let me just do it quickly. So my fabric direction is facing down. I'm going to pin at the top of the zipper. My zipper is right side up. This is just like as same as if you're putting fabrics together. Right side of fabric to right side of zipper. Okay? I'm not sure, Christine, if yes means yes, you're okay, or yes, you'd like to see it again. Okay, I've pinned it. Now I'm going to, let's see, how did I do that before? Okay. So I pinned it, but I got to remember I have to turn the zipper so it is right side up. So there's like a little fold here. And then this goes on. And I'll do it quickly because you can see to check it, it only takes a second. It takes longer to rip out your stitches when they're wrong than it does to pin this and try it out. Okay, so I'm going to open this up because if I peek in, sometimes that doesn't help me. I'm just going to turn it right side out carefully because I only got a couple pins in there. And there I am right side up. Now probably if I turn this way and then rolled it up like that, so if I do that, it doesn't matter which way I did it, does it? But I pin it just to be on the safe side. You never know. You might get a little ahead of yourself. I'm going to leave this top one pinned and just take the bottom one out. I know it's in there somewhere. There it is. Okay. So now I'm back to where I started. Except I'm going to be a little neater this time. And I'm going to use my clips. So you're going to lay your, well, so let's just take, I'm going to put some clips in this because you can't get, I mean, you can't get by with clips either, but you can't get by with pins. Okay, so I got a couple of clips in here. My zipper is right side up. Okay, now I think I'm going to do the same thing. So here's my lining. My lining is facing up. And you know your lining has to be facing up because your top fabric is facing down. So it's always right sides together. Okay, so my lining fabric is here. If you want to, let's see, can you see it that way okay? If you want to, you could, let me just move this out of the way. Now, do you notice I'm not trying to get down one end with my zipper? There's nothing to save here. I'll show you how to save another time. But I need to, this is the most important thing where this guy is, to have him out of the way of your machine. Okay? So, lining fabric, right side up. Lining fabric, right side up. Zipper is right side up. We're going to line the zipper up. Sorry, I was getting a Moxie delivery. I'm going to make sure I move that out of the way. I want to line my zipper and my lining fabric up so they line up across the top. And I think I would normally only have probably 3 clips, but for you today, I'll use 4. How's that? So I'm lining up my lining fabric with the top of my zipper. And sometimes if you pick it up and do it, it just makes it harder to do. Okay? We're good so far? Now I'm going to lay my lining fabric. Remember, I didn't move it since I got it when I unpinned it. Excuse me, I got to have a swallow. My lining, my outside fabric, I never moved. I kept it right here. But you're going to know that your fabrics are going to be right sides together, and your zipper is sandwiched in between. So I'm going to line it up. I want to make sure that both fabrics are lined up together. So I'll take that first clip out, and I can see where the back fabric, the lining fabric, and the zipper, everybody's all together. You can pin or a clip fairly close to this edge because we're going to start sewing on the zipper and then come on, just so I can show you how to use your zipper foot. Okay? Then I'm going to clip on, just going down the line, and it should match. They should match together at the other end. Oh, my fabric's falling on the... I'm doing this backwards to me, so pardon me, it just takes me a little extra time. And I want to make sure that my zipper stays lined up, so my zipper, forget what you call it, the cloth of the zipper, so that everybody's lined up together. So if I look at the back, I want to make sure I didn't shift anything. And I have the flat parts of my clips are facing, so that generally that's the clear side, because if I'm stitching this way, I don't want this big bump. I want that nice flat side on the bed of my machine. Okay, we good? Zipper's right side up. Your pull can be at this end or this end, whichever makes you happy. I'm going to switch to the other camera and see if I can zoom in while I put my zipper foot on. Oh. So when you're putting your foot on, let me switch over. Lynn, I'll try to pay attention this time. Okay, we're out of focus, but that's okay. Here we go. All right, so let me move the camera. So hold on for a second. I don't want you to get dizzy. It's going to take it a second to focus. And hopefully it doesn't go out of focus. So when I'm changing my foot, I don't use my button up here. So I have a button up here that raises and lowers the foot. I don't want to use that. I want to use the lever behind. So my foot is up, but my lever is down. I can't use it. See how it hits? See right here? So I need to put my foot down so that I can bring it up with the lever. Okay? Because you want to use the lever to come up and down to put your foot on. I'm going to try to do this if I can, left-handed. So I just put my regular foot aside. If I don't know which side, okay. I have the light down. Oh, pardon my arm. I have the light down so that you can see the screen if you need to. Okay, so see, there's my two bars. A left one and a right one. Looks like one long bar going across, which yeah, I guess it is. One long bar going across. So I need to know which side I need to be on. This side or the left side or the right side. So if I put my zipper foot down, oh, sorry. If I put my zipper foot down so it's riding along this edge, I need to have my foot snapped in on this side. See that? Because I need this edge here to ride along over the coils of the zipper. Does that make sense? Oh, close your eyes a second. I gotta put the camera back. Okay? Because it can be confusing. Okay, so my bar, my extra bar of the zipper foot is over on the right. And so the edge of the zipper foot is right in line with the ankle. The ankle is what you attach your foot to. Okay? I want to make sure I'm past my zipper pull before I put the foot down. And let me get mine situated here. I want to make sure that, hold on, I'm going to bring it in again. Okay, that looks, let's see if I can get there. Okay, so the very front of my foot is on the fabric because I don't want the foot pushing this fabric up, but my needle is still back. Can you see right here? This is where that tunnel is, and it runs along with the teeth. Now, don't try to get so close that you can't get your zipper open or your pull to go by. So see how I am butted right up against those teeth. I'm going to move over just a tad. So hold on one second. so that you can see exactly where I am. Here we go again. See how close I can get in there. Okay, let's just give it a second to, oh, if I stop moving my hand, it could focus. Can you see? See how I got that little bit of space? Let me point with my little pin here. You see how I got, sorry, I got that little bit of space. Oh, we're losing focus again. There we go. Oh, don't move. You see how I got that little bit of space right there of the zipper tape? So here's my teeth. Sorry. Here's my teeth. And then you can see right in there, this part here is called the zipper tape. You see how I can see just a tad of it there? You see that? Okay. It's enough of making you, whoop, zoom back again. It's enough of making you dizzy, huh? See if I can come in a little closer so that I can still, oh, I can still see. I have to be able to see a little bit. Sorry, my tripod legs were getting tangled up. Okay, let me just see if I can, I'm trying to make it focus up here so that my hands don't make a difference. So is everybody good on that? Okay. So we're going to slowly stitch along, and we're going to keep our eye on that little space I told you about and try to keep that space the same the whole way. You're welcome to anytime go closer, but I'd rather you not today if you just, you know, new at doing this. So I'm hanging on. I've got my fingers pressed down here, and I'm following along. And I can actually see that the edge of my fabric is with the edge of my foot. So I can use either spot to maintain the same space the whole way. Because I'm on an angle, so I'm not sure if that's perfectly right. So I'm going to get down near the end. I'm taking that last clip off, but I really want to make sure that my underneath fabric and my top fabric still line up. And I have to put my finger in your way, but my finger, see, I'm holding it right here, and I'm still keeping it nice and flat over here. And you can sew right off onto the tape. Okay, we good so far? Okay, so you want to have your ironing station ready. So we're going to open this up, and we're going to bring this so that the zipper is up at the top, and we need to press this. Now remember, you've got a nylon zipper, okay? Nylon, plastic, heat, melt, okay? I mean, it'll take a little bit, but for a minute I thought I had my zipper on upside down. But I don't want, we're going to be top stitching here, so our thread is going to show. And I don't want to have a fold up here, a crease up here. And it's going to happen more on this side because you're not looking at it, on your lining side. So I'm taking the end and I'm pulling it down so that I can get this. So you want to take this over to the iron. I didn't bring my roller over here this side today because I was actually going to iron. But my other camera, I would have to move it again. I don't want to keep moving it on you. I mean, you can't see it now if I move it, but when I have to adjust it again to move it back. So I'm just pulling this way. Okay? Excuse me. So now we have to stitch along this top. So guess what? Our teeth are now on the right. Remember, they were on the left. So we have to go over and change our foot to go into the right side bar. And you'll see that when you get over to the machine. And you're going to say, oh, I don't want to keep moving it back and forth. But today's about practicing moving that zipper foot around. That's today's practice. Because if we're gonna be doing bags all month, we gotta get used to this. Okay? Promise it won't be so painful as you go along. So now if you look, oh, my thread is so curly, it's bouncing back. My thread's got curly hair today. So if you look, you see if we were over here, well, that isn't going to do us any good because the zipper teeth are on this side. So see, I've changed to the right side so that I can sew along this edge. Now, when we do the top stitching, we don't want to get right at the edge. So I have about, oh, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch of space of the fabric showing. Can you see right there? Okay, so my back part that rides along the teeth is either going to be just off the teeth or barely on the teeth, because I don't want to sew too close to the top. It's too hard. Okay, but you got to at least be on the fabric there somewhere. Okay, I just have to adjust this so it doesn't tip over. Okay, so you can start a little bit off of the fabric, and I'm going to lock my stitch only because my thread is so curly it's making a big mess. And what I'm watching is I'm going to watch that distance of my front fabric and the distance it is from the front part of my foot. You don't want to be too far away, because if you're too far away, the fabric will flip up. You'll see. Well, so let me get mine done. And make sure you check that bottom fabric. Just keep pulling on them to make sure you don't have that crease. So let's see if I can. There you go. You see? Can you see where it is? The green stitching? You can see that pretty good. Alrighty. We're back to our work table. Let me just check and see if anybody has any questions. So that was the hardest part as far as getting your fabric right. Now you really can't get it wrong. Well, I guess you could, but it's less likely. So our zipper is still face up. Here's my zipper pull right here. Oh, I got a mess going back there now, don't I? Oh, if I cover that over, I'll be wondering where that is in about 5 minutes. Okay, We're going all right? I know I'm going slow, but I'm trying to make sure that for people that haven't done this before, that we just take our time. So now our lining is right there. And now when you look at it, these are wrong sides together, but that's fine because what we're going to do now is this is our front fabric. Remember, we sew at the top of the zipper. So we're going to bring this up to the top of the zipper, making sure that it's lined up with the fabrics. Okay? And we're going to clip it in place, lining our top fabric and the zipper up. I need to see you guys, see what kind of trouble you're up to. Okay? So this is all nice and flat. We're lined up this way. The front fabric and the zipper tape are lined up across the top. We still got this guy hanging down. He's going to come over. So I just flipped it over. So see, I was like this. Now I'm just flipping it over just because it's easier. And I'm bringing this one up. So and it's coming all the way to the top. So what you need to keep in mind, your lining, the right sides of the lining are together, and they're separate from the right sides of the front of the bag. But we still got to keep in line left and right. And then we got to clip them on and just adjust everybody so everybody's lined up together. And we're going to be sewing from the top side here where the teeth are up. So the flat side of our clip is facing up to us right now. Because you'll want to actually turn it, and you don't want to do that. And just make sure that your zipper, the top of your zipper tape stays lined up with the raw edges of your fabrics. Rhonda, how are you and Nancy doing? I'll use you two to gauge by since there's two of you. Okay, now remember, this isn't your prom dress. If you're off by a thread or two, don't worry about it. Try to focus on the sides, especially. If you pick it up to pin it, you got to kind of pinch them all together. Pinch their little cheeks. Okay? So, here's what we have. Everybody look like that? So now when I turn it back over, because our zipper's always at the top, this is our top outside of our bag. We are doing okay, having fun. Thanks, Rhonda. We're lined up here, so we have two separate pieces here. We good? Okay? So guess what we have to do again? I can hear you moaning now. I can hear it. We got to put our zipper foot back to the other side. Oh, Rhonda, you had everything prepped already? Good for you. You should come over and prep mine. So we got to put our zipper foot back so it's clipped on the left side because we're back with our teeth are on the left. Okay? I know it's a pain to keep flipping it back and forth. If I should do my machine foot resource book with you, you'll be changing feet more than this. But you want to have it come out right, and you want to have the foot that does the right job. If you have a foot that goes straight back. I think of it as like a snowboard or a ski, goes right straight back and doesn't have that part sticking out on each side, then you have to move the needle left and right. And always you should turn your wheel. Don't step on your foot pedal. Turn your wheel to make sure your needle clears all right. Okay, so off we go. And again, we're going to start so that, let me switch over. We're going to start again so that a little of the fabric is under the front. We're back here, and see, I've got that same, see right in there? Can you see that little, see where the teeth are? And then there's a little space. So I'm doing the same exact thing I did on the other side. Okay? Watch your eyeballs. This never sets back down the same. I'm not quite sure what's up with that. It's on a tripod, and I think when I pick it up, the tripod legs go in a little bit. They think they're free. Okay, so here we go. I'm tangled up in thread here. So once I stitch a little bit, I can go ahead and take that clip out. And when I take the last clip out, I'm just going to make sure that the lining fabric and the top fabric are still ending at the same place together. It's always a good sign. Okay. Whew, we got our zipper in. Is everybody excited about that? The zipper's in. If you're off a little bit, see I'm off just a tad there. We're not going to worry about that right now. So now we have to do our seams, our side seams. So we've got to turn this, we got to turn this right side out. So I'm going to take my zipper pull. Oh, you know, we got to do our second top stitch, and that's right. So we're going to go in the front fabric section. And I kind of put my zipper this way because it's easy, and then I go in here, and I'm pushing out in each direction so everybody's together. How we doing? Okay. Now, we've stitched the top stitch of this one. Now we got to top stitch this one. And we still got to make sure, you might want to take it to the iron, or you should take it to the iron. And make sure that so what we're going to do is, before you take it to the iron, I'll make it easier for you. We're going to open this up. Now you can get right in there. See how you can get right in there and press both sides. I don't mean to keep flipping it around on you. I'm sure that's irritating. So before you put your iron down on it, not on high heat, make sure that you've got the front and the back with no creases up by the seam, up by the zipper. So you're going to take yours over to the iron, and if you don't, I'll never know. Okay, I've got my back good. I'm going to turn this over. I want to get it so it's laying pretty flat. And and this is another reason why you want extra zipper, so that you can pull that out of the way. Okay? So I'm looking here. I can turn it over, look here, but see how I'm hanging on to it right on these edges. Oop. So now I'm just going to fold this so it's easier to work with. So now we've got to go do our top, we've got to do our top stitching. So guess what we have to do? Teeth are on the right. They were on the left. We got to change our foot back over to the right, this bar on the right side. Okay? I'm going to make sure, even if I've ironed it, I'm going to just keep looking and make sure I don't have a crease. So I'm hanging on to this at each end so that when I bring this up under, it should stay nice and flat. Like you notice I say should. Okay, I was fighting with my thread there. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'll bring you up close. Hang on to your eyeballs. Okay, so see that amount of space I got showing my green on my front fabric? So that it almost looks like this back part of my foot, this back part of the foot, is almost in line with the edge of this fabric. Almost. But whatever you pick, you don't want it much more than that. And whoops, sorry. You don't want it much more than that. You don't want it any less than that. Because if you sew back here, first of all, you'll be off the zipper. But if you sew back here, this piece, the distance that's left, will keep flipping up on you. Okay? If you sew down and it's too far away, don't take the stitches out. Come back and do another row closer. It's okay. You can have 2 rows. Nobody knows what you're supposed to be doing. Okay? Watch your eyeballs. And let me get this to focus there. Okay, we're ready to go? And again, doesn't hurt to look underneath. Make sure that underneath is behaving. Okay, take your time, stop, adjust, make sure that nothing's creased underneath, because once it starts to crease, it'll just crease more and more as you go along. Keeping this nice and flat. Oh, let me turn this just a tad. Okay, I'm keeping this nice and flat, and this hand here is making sure that everybody stays in line. I'm actually staring from back here, sort of. And I swear to you that when I'm by myself, I don't sew much faster. I sew just about this speed all the time. So faster sewing does not make better sewing. It just makes faster sewing. And generally more mistakes. Okay, so now we're getting to the French seam. Is everybody excited? Okay, so if a couple of you could just throw in the chat that you caught up. I don't want to get to the French seam until everybody's ready. So we're going to turn this right side out. Doesn't that look nice now already? What we have to do, though, is we have to bring the zipper in. Because once we sew past here, that zipper can't get by. Now, should you sew past here and the zipper's out here, just unsew. But at some point, we're going to cut this off. And when we cut this off and your zipper pull is out here, that's the end of that day. So, Lynn, how are you doing? Cindy's just watching, so I can't ask her how she's doing. I don't know who else is on. Christine, you seem to be okay. Are we ready for our French seam? Okay, so the first thing we need to do is get this bag. So I made this one bigger for you than this little one because I didn't want you to have to fight too much. You want to get your zipper. So I'm just going to close it a little more just for a minute. So I want to get my zipper. Hopefully it's even. So if I come across here, my zipper should be in the same place on both sides. And they should be the same down here. So you see, this is why I keep a mat right next to my machine. I don't generally cut here because I don't want to be jabbing into my machine. But if I need to measure something or if I need to know something is straight. Now, if you're way off here, we're not going to worry about it just yet because in order to fix anything, we'd have to cut this off, and we're not brave enough for that yet. Okay, so we're going to do the easy side first. So let's just put our zipper pull somewhere in the middle, just so we don't forget. Okay, so if you got your top down to where you want it, don't have it at the very top. It's very hard to do that. Oh, Lynn, you're just watching too? Okay. You chickens, you. I want to make sure I reach inside one more time to make sure that my lining fabric is flat as well. Same thing up here. Generally, you can feel it. You'll feel a bump. Okay, so I've got my zipper down where I want it. We're going to sew this side first. So let me tell you how a French seam works. It's not hard. It's just 2 seams. You're going to seam twice on each side. We're going to come in 1/4 of an inch, and you don't have to be exact. Remember, if you cut an inch extra on each side, you've got you've got plenty of room there to make a mistake or come in too far. So we want to be about 1/4 of an inch down. The first thing we can do is go ahead and take our zipper foot off and put our regular sewing foot. So I have a baby lot. I got the Solaris today, so it's still the J foot. It's a J foot on the brother. It's an A foot on a Janome. Okay, so if you're a little off on your 2 fabrics, just come in the 1/4 inch from whichever fabric is furthest to the left. Does that make sense? So, because you want to make sure you catch every fabric. Now, we're going to trim this after we sew. So that way, if your 1/4 inch is a little bigger, it's okay. Don't go a little smaller. Don't skimp here because we're gonna trim it. All right? So if you need to, if you feel the need, I'll go along with you, put some pins in. I don't want you to feel alone in the pinning. But I'm only allowing you 3 pins for this. Don't let me catch you using more. Make sure your fabrics, if it's directional, is right. Oh, geez, I couldn't have done that better if I'd have tried with those 3 ladies. This is like, it's a takeoff on a sewing pattern. That's pretty funny. I want you to look at that. I'm proud of myself right there. Now that was a happy mistake, wasn't it? Excuse me. Okay, so we're gonna seam down, and when you go over the teeth, it'll be fine, as long as you don't have metal teeth. And that's why you don't want a metal zipper. If you had a metal zipper, you'd have to put a tab on it, and we're gonna learn how to do tabs next time. So 1/4 inch, little more is okay, and you're gonna stitch down. in this case, because we're doing a French seam and we're going to be stitching again, we don't need to stitch back and forth over this to catch it because we got one more seam to do, okay? So I'm not going to bother switching the camera over because I think you can figure out the 1/4 inch seam. It doesn't hurt to do a little locking stitch at the beginning. And I'm taking a very healthy 1/4 inch so that you can see. And when I get to the bottom, I'm going to do a little locking stitch. Oh, wrong panel. Okay, so you got your seam, and look, looks a little raggedy, but it's okay. We're good. Now we're going to turn this around, and I'm going to take a piece of, oh, Lynn, I didn't switch over to sewing this time. I thought you guys could handle that, but thanks for letting me know. Lynn's keeping an eye on me because I think it was Thursday night. I thought I was on the sewing camera and I was talking away and showing stuff and I hadn't switched it over. So what I'm going to do is, let me see if I can zoom in a little here. Okay, how's that? You see, because we got this space now because our pole is out here and it has to stay out here. We can't move it up too close, okay? So what I generally do is I cross them over a little bit. See? And I'm just going to hold that. Now, if you have a piece of tape, you could put a piece of tape there. If you have an embroidery machine and you have some of that paper tape or pink tape, you could do that. Or let me see how this works. I've got some low tack tape, and I'm just, see, what's going to happen, see how these are crossed over? What's going to happen is when the presser foot comes along, it's going to squish that down, and it's going to push it towards me or towards you. So I'm just going to do, now I'm wrapping the tape around only because I don't want it to stick to my machine. So, but I've just got it, see how it's just crossed a little bit right there. I don't want it like, you know, way over. But they're kind of sitting on top of one another and it feels like a big bunch, but as that presser foot comes by, it's going to push it down. So don't tape too close because it has to have room to press flat, to be flat. And again, I had too much tape, so I just wrapped it around so I wouldn't stick to myself. Okay, and again, let me back up. Oh. And again, I want to make sure that everything's lined up, it's nice and smooth. I haven't changed anything. Put my pins in. Remember, 3-pin limit. We have a 3-pin limit today. You got 4 clips on the zipper and 3 pins. That's your today's limit. Okay? And we're going to do another 1/4 inch seam. Now look, can you see? Well, let me show you on the other camera if you can, so you can see what size seam I took. Because the other camera doesn't have as much glare with that big light. There you go. So see, I took a little more than a 1/4 inch, and that's okay. And if it wasn't perfectly straight, that's okay too, because we're going to trim it. If you take more seam on one side than the other, it doesn't matter. It matters not, because the bag is the bag, unless you're cutting off something that you wanted to see. So I'm going to have fabric on under my needle, my locking stitch. You know I have to put my pins back on the pin cushion as I go. You step on enough of them, you learn that lesson. But you notice every time I take a pin out, this hand right here is holding the fabric. So when I yank a pin out, I'm not moving my fabric around. My left hand and right hand don't trust each other. We're coming up to the zipper. It's still crossed over a little bit. My tape is probably a 1/4 inch away from the edge of the fabric. And I'm just going to slowly come along. And see, you don't even, I didn't hear any noise. Now, when I said your seam, the size of your seam doesn't matter, I don't mean that at one end it's a 1/2 inch and at the other end it's a 1/4 inch, because then your bag wouldn't be square anymore. So I have to watch what I say. Okay, let's switch back. Okay, I don't have to take the tape off because I'm going to cut it right off. Okay, so now we're going to trim. Are you all excited for that? So I need my bigger rotary cutter. Okay, so this is your regular 45. And we're going to do an 1/8 of a seam allowance, 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So here's your 1/2. There's your 1/4. And then there's a little tick after that that's your 1/8, and we want the 1/8. So we're lining up the 1/8 little mark on the ruler right on. God, this thread blends in so good I can't see it. We want that little 1/8 marking, little tick mark, is right on your stitching, not to the left of the stitching. You could be a little to the right, don't be to the left, but preferably you're going to be right on. Okay? And we're going to cut this off at the same time, and we're going to go, okay, before I get my rotary cutter going, where's my pull? If my pull isn't inside of these lines, you've got to stop and undo and get those the pull inside of the, I call it the margins, inside of the seam allowances. So my pull, remember I said go right to the middle. There it is. Okay, but always double check that, because sometimes we think we did something and we didn't. And see how it goes. That cut easy, didn't it? Okay, we're going to swing around to the other side. We're going to double check our pull again. I can't tell you how many times if you don't do this, that you're going to forget. Here's my pull. It's right in the middle of my bag. Okay, we're going to line up that 1/8 inch again on the ruler. And you should be straight here and straight here. I did say should be. And I've never known that cutting the zipper to hurt my rotary cutter, my blade. Okay, now doesn't it look so much better when it's all trimmed up? So now you're thinking, okay, now what? We have 2 seams to go. So remember, this time we had the wrong sides together, which is opposite of what you normally would do. So now we got to go in and actually make our real seam. So we're going to turn it inside out. And because we went 1/8 of an inch, you shouldn't need to trim those corners. I find that when people start trimming those corners, next thing you know, they've made a hole there. We want to make sure we get those corners poked out, and they should poke out pretty nicely. Don't try to jam your scissors or something in there and poke a hole right in it. But see, that's pretty square. I'm having a good day. I can tell you right now, that's exciting. I may have to make bags all afternoon to keep my run going. Okay, now I opened my zipper up to turn it inside out. So I want to put that zipper back to the middle only because I want to keep it out of trouble. Now, I want you to take your bag over to your iron and make sure you press each side here. And you'll press a little bit onto your zipper. It's okay. Just press lightly. Don't press lightly. Press quickly, I guess would be the word. Okay? So I'll give you a minute to get pressed. And when you're at this end where the zipper end is in, if your back fabric is coming around to the front a little bit, that's okay. Don't fight with it. You can pick a fight later. Just try not to have creases where the seam allowances, the seams are. Okay, so I'm going to give you 1 minute and see if does anybody have any questions yet? If you're lonely, nobody has any questions. Okay, I'll put my clips away while you're ironing. Probably everybody's sitting there going, I'm ironed already, come on. Okay, we're ready to go. So this is the end. I feel like I got a bug bite. It can't be mosquitoes. All we have to do now is we're going to take a seam. The point of this seam is to make sure it's bigger than the seam we just trimmed. And that's why we trim it back to 1/8, because now we can do a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and the other seam will be encased inside. Does that make sense to you? So now those raw edges are hidden inside of this seam. So that's all a French seam is you seam it with wrong sides together, 1/4 inch, trim to 1/8 of an inch, turn it inside out like you would normally do a seam, and then you're going to do a 1/4 inch because you trim the first one to 1/8. It should be well inside of your 1/4 inch. So if you need to take a little bit, if you're scared, and that's okay, and you want to take a little bit bigger seam, that's all right. If you take too small a seam and you open it up and you can see your threads and raw edges, then you need to come back and take a bigger seam. But it might look better if you take those stitches out. I think I probably would leave them the first time because, this isn't your prom dress, it's just a bag. Okay, and I just got to check here because I didn't go sew mine. Iron mine. I just want to make sure I don't have a big fold there. Okay, so this time you're going to lock. So lock in place. If you can't lock in place, 3 forward, 3 back, come up. And I would, when I get to the zipper, I would come across. Well, you know what? I'll show you. Let me switch over to the other camera because I'll show you exactly what I'll do. And I'm just going to scoot my seat over. Bear with me. I know. Close your eyes if you want. I'll tell you when we're ready. And I'll come in a little bit. Hopefully there's room for my hands there. And I have to find something for it to focus on besides my hands. Okay, that should do it. So I'm taking the easy side first, because see, this isn't open, and this one is, and we'll be okay. And again, if you want to tape it a little closer together, I just kind of push it when I get there. Oh, came unthreaded. So I'm gonna, now normally I would switch to a light color thread, but I'm gonna leave my green thread in so that you can see exactly the seam allowance I take. So if you want to wait and sew after I sew, you're welcome to. Okay, so normally I just press my button up here, and I told you about that on your Baby Lock and Brother machines. You have that locking button. But let's just say I don't. So I'm going to go up. All right. I forgot to move my pedal over next to me, and I think I told you this. I have a little pedal that cuts my thread, and my pedal is way to my right, and I stepped on the wrong pedal. So I cut my thread before I even got started. All right, let's try this again. Oh. Pardon my arm just for a minute. So I want a 1/4 inch. If I'm using my regular J foot, and I'm using 1-03 stitch right here on my plate, my bobbin plate, I have a 1/4 inch line. I can use that. Okay. So here we go. So I'm going to, oh, I almost hit that wrong pedal again. So I'm going to go forward 3, whoops, sorry, and back 3. And my back button is right here, right up here. And then I'm going to stitch along. And when I get up by where my zipper is, I'm going to go past my zipper. And I went past right where the lines are for the sewing the zipper. And rather than go backwards, I'm just going to turn it around, because now I can see where my stitches are, so I can stitch right on top of them. So you don't need to use that back, oops, sorry. You don't need to use that back all the time to go backwards. If it's only meant to go backwards a couple stitches, it's not meant to stitch backwards for half a mile. So I'm going to stitch back, and then I can just spin it around. Oh, that was a good spin. I'm just going to spin it around. So now I've got 3 sets of stitches holding that zipper in case you were worried about it. I'm going to come up to my end, and since I'm going to go 3 stitches backwards, I'm going to go 1 more stitch. Okay, I have a setting. Fortunately, I have a setting on my pedal that I can hit my pedal in a certain place and it goes 1 stitch. So don't think I was like good at that. And then I'm going to stitch back. So I turned my bag around, and I'm coming back, and oh, I was too close to the edge. It doesn't want to come back. So all I need to do is, well, my hand's in the way here. Hold on. Is I'm just going to bring my, well, let me do it this way because I can't reach my other side. I'm going to bring my needle up. I'm just going to lift the foot a little bit just to help it along. It was just causing that little bump. Okay, and then you can do your 3 back, 3 forward here. I'm just going to lock mine. I don't like to lock at the very end. I don't know why. I find that I can trim the threads better here. Okay, so here we go. So there's my seam. Here's where I went back and forth. And see, the stitches are on top of one another because I turned the bag around instead of backing up and not knowing where I'm going. And up to the end, and then I came back and locked it back here. Okay, so you've got a little seam on the inside, but see how it's all nicely finished. Okay, so let's do our other side. So you can go ahead and do yours, in case you hadn't already. And I'm going to address my zipper being apart from the two teeth sections being apart when I get closer. So I'll do the exact same thing again. I'll go 3 forward, 3 back and lock it, or you can do the lock in place. I'm going to squeeze this in again like we did before. And I'm taking the bottom one. See if you can see this. See how I brought the bottom one up over the top one? See, there's my opening. I'm just lifting this up a little bit. And it looks, oops, sorry. It looks all bunchy, but it's going to flatten out as we go by. Got to keep a careful eye that I don't make a pleat there. If it's a little apart from each other, it's no big deal. But let's try our best to not have that happen. Okay, so I'm going to come over that zipper. Remember, we're going to turn around and go back again, turn around and head down to the other end of our bag. So if you want to go to the end and lock, you can, but I'm going to turn around and just come back up a little bit. Okay, so again, you give it a press. There's no trimming or anything to do. You got a seam there, but it's all nice and encased nicely. So I'm just going to reach in. If you reach in and just grab the slide and open it, you don't have to force the bag through. I do my top first. Don't know why. Then the rest of it. Make sure that I get my my corners all out. Your seam allowance is going to feel heavier because it is. But it's okay. It's a nice finished seam in there. And everybody will think you're really grand when you go, oh, I made you this bag and it has French seams on it. And again, if you have fabric hanging out here, that's because you didn't take this seam deep enough. So just turn it back inside out and do it again. Just come in and scoot in a little ways. And when you first do it the first few times, maybe the first 10 times, you're probably going to have a bigger seam allowance than you need, but that's okay. Because again, nobody knows what size that seam allowance is supposed to be, do they? And unless it's another sewer, and the other sewer will say, oh, French seams, that's nice. And there's your bag. My lady got a little cut off this time, but that's okay. So make sure you give this a bit of a press. Okay, are there any questions? So we're gonna do a bag similar to this next week. Let me see if I've got a sample of part of it. But this time we're gonna put tabs on. And the tabs are gonna make it so that we're not sewing the zipper in the seam at all. So you know how we had that little bit thicker, the thickness thickness, is that a word? Thickness? Well, it is today. The thickness of the zipper right in the seam. Well, this time we won't. We're going to have tabs on each end. In that case, you can use a smaller zipper. We're going to cut the fabric the same size, and I'm going to show you how to cut down the zipper and all that for next class. I try to make it that we're working on the tabs and how tabs work and putting the tabs in, but we'll keep the bag the same. So we can do our French seam again, so you'll have more practice at it. So fabric is the same, but you're going to need 2 pieces, and I used my inside fabric. 2 pieces that are 2 by 3, 2 inches by 3 inches. And just do the same size zipper again. Oh, look, I ended up with, look. I wonder that's where my purple zipper went, and I had to get another one. I was fooling around with this. Okay, and then after that, we'll do like a triangle bag. We may do a curved bag, but we'll do, for the month of November, we'll just do some different bags. So I'm going to wait a minute to see if anybody has any questions. I'm going to sit and admire my bag with my 3 ladies there. If you want this to have a little more body, then I suggest you use Shape Flex, Shape, S-H-A-P-E, Flex, F-L-E-X, Pellon, it's from Pellon. And the ladies and gents that do machine embroidery should already know what Shape Flex is. If you want to go a little stiffer than that, you want to go to, okay, Lynn, you're going to have to help me. No, you know it by the numbers. It's, oh my God, it's escaping me. Decobond, D-E-C-O, D-E-C-O-I, I think it's Decor Bond, and it's still by Pellon. And you would fuse those, so if you're going to use the Decor Bond, you'd fuse it only to your front fabric, because I think both fabrics might be a little too heavy. If you want a little body for both of them, you know how sometimes you get a fabric and it's just kind of blah, and you're doing a bag, you want to have a little body, then I would Shape Flex, so you fuse that to the back and to the front, their own separate pieces, and you would fuse it on your long piece. What do we do? 9 by 16? Yeah. Okay. So otherwise, we're just going to use the same fabric dimensions, and I'll post it again in Facebook next week. But it's the same dimensions. 2 pieces, 9 by what do we go? 9 by 16, I believe it was. And you need a zipper that's at least 12 inches. And you need 2 pieces of fabric for the tabs, 2 inches by 3 inches. Hopefully that makes it clear. Everybody get their bag down. Oh, look, everybody hold your bag up just so I can see it. Wouldn't that be fun? So there we go. And see, this is upside down, but hey, I can always hold it like this. Nobody knows. Oh, see, I didn't do that good a job there. Oh, their heads are going around. I didn't cut them off. We're good. Okay, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. If you'd be kind enough to subscribe to my channel if you haven't, hit the thumbs up. What else is there? Ring the bell. I guess the bell is so you'll get a reminder when I come on a little early. It sends you a little thing that there I am. And I always say, if you feel the need to leave a thumbs down, please don't. Just, delete me or just don't follow me. We don't want no negative today. No negative today. And again, thank you everyone for joining in. Hope you enjoyed your bag. If you want to, you can post a picture of your bag over on Miss Loreens Schoolhouse Facebook. I have a post this morning reminding everybody for today's class. You can post it right there so everybody can see the different fabrics you use. We always like to see everybody's fabrics. So thanks again, and have a great day.